Hi there guys, how's it going? This is Matt the Tomato here. Welcome back to another SimCity 3000 tutorial video. So last time we looked at surviving fires, and in this part, this tutorial video, I'm going to talk about how to survive riots. Now riots can be a problem because they can often lead to other things. For instance, a riot can break out and loads of violence will start, and then they'll start setting fire to your buildings and cause fires. So riots can be potentially dangerous if they get out of hand and if you don't have the measures in place to combat them. So I've just gone and loaded Bethton over here as a good example of how to combat riots. So the first things first, similarly to fires, you want to be able to prevent them. And with fires, there's really only a couple of routes that you can go down to help prevent them. But with the riots, there's actually plenty of things you can do to actually prevent them from happening. And the obvious one, really, first off, which most of you will probably know, is to look at the crime data map and have adequate police coverage. So this is the police coverage that we currently have in Bethton. As you can see, pretty much every single residential area is currently covered by a police station, which is excellent. You also want to ensure that in your expenditures and funding, your police funding is relatively high. Now, you don't want it too high. If you wank it, oh dear. If you rack it all the way up to the top here, your Sims will start to complain really badly. And if anything, it may actually cause more riots because people are being arrested for stupid little things. Like, isn't there one about a fussy baby who gets arrested for chewing gum or something like that? I don't know. It's a kid gets arrested for chewing gum or something, I don't know. So you want to make sure that your police funding is really, really good, but not too good, so to speak. With the rest, you can send them all the way up to the top, but with the police, you want it just a little bit below. Otherwise, they really will start to complain. So that's on the police front. That's what you want to do. You want to ensure that you have adequate police coverage, and also you want to ensure that their funding is sufficient. Now, a good indicator of where a riot may start is actually these blobs that you can see here. This is actually the level of crime in an area. So we can see over here there's no blobs at all, and that's because there's absolutely no crime. So that's not the ones you want to worry about. The ones you want to worry about are the blobs that start appearing. And the redder they are, the worse the crime is in that area. And usually riots will break out in those areas, but you just never know, really. We'll actually see in a minute when we go to the disasters and actually start one, and we'll see what happens. So you want to look at these areas here in particular, and if necessary, build additional police stations to cover those areas and get some extra coverage. It really will help you out. So you want to ensure that that is all in place, and you want to keep an eye on your crime map here. It's one of the reasons I tend to actually put it down the bottom as the actual map quite often, because I do like to keep an eye on the crime, because things do happen. The next thing that you can do to help prevent your riots from breaking out is actually to dive into your ordinances. Now, this city is actually in 2005, so we should have them all available. But there are actually ordinances that will go a long way towards reducing your crime level. For instance, the junior sports is a very good one because that gets like the youth into playing sports games and things like that, and actually keeps them off the streets. It works in real life. We have sports programs and things like that that educates teens into sports, gets them playing sports and things like that. It's really good, actually. Other ones, this is, by the way, the smoke detector one, which I was talking about in the fires, so that's there. Neighbourhood Watch is also a very good one to enact. It reduces crime in the area and also actually reduces the amount that you have to spend on your police a little bit as well, because you have a Neighbourhood Watch program in place. Another one you can go for is the youth curfew. However, that has a very limited effect for the amount that you have to spend on it. If your crime really is really bad, it can be a really good option, but for the actual expenditure and the benefit ratio that you get out of it, it's not really worth it, to be fair. But anything helps, really, and things like that can actually help. To ensure that you reduce the likelihood of riots. The other really general thing about ordinances is that if you have a good balance of ordinances, a good way of life in your city, like if you have lots of parks around, if taxes are low and things like that, people are less susceptible to riot. And if you think about it, like if we, I don't know, what should we go for? Just as an example in real life, when the students went rioting and they went out onto the streets with mass protests at the tuition fee rise in the UK. That's because of the fact that it just means that students are having to spend loads of money, they're having to get into debt. It reduces their overall lifestyle, basically. It makes them less happy. So you want to use ordinances that keep people happy. So things like, if I dive over here, like pro reading, educate Sims, things like that. Free clinics, people like to have free treatment and things like that. If you go to your city planner, homeless shelters is a good one, because that stops homeless or any sort of people on the streets potentially becoming involved in crime and things like that. All really helps, to be honest. Jobs fair, public TV, people like that kind of thing, and stuff like that, which is really, really good. Another thing that you can do as well to help prevent crime is actually to not have legalized gambling, because legalized gambling actually, although it brings in money, actually encourages crime. So if you really want to crack down on your crime, you want to take that off. But I've got it on at the moment because I've got good police coverage. If you've got good police coverage, legalized gambling is okay. But if you don't, and your crime is getting out of hand, and you have this enacted, a good idea. It doesn't cost you anything really to take off. You get a slight little bit of a blip on your income, but it really doesn't have that much of a big effect. I mean, it's not that bad. But yeah, so that's the kind of things that you can do to prevent it. Now, what do you do if a riot does break out? Well, pretty much, as long as you've got good police coverage, you're going to be okay. Because you can do a similar thing to your fires, in that you can actually dispatch a special police squad to go and deal with that riot. But the chances are that the riot may actually set off some fires as well. So if that happens, you want to dispatch your firefighters too, to ensure that the fires are also under control, in case they do actually eventually set fires to loads of buildings. Sometimes, if your policing is really good, the riot will be stopped and quelled before they actually set fire to anything. So let's just see exactly what happens here. So let's just start a riot. Okay, here we go. There's a massive riot occurring in this park area. So you want to send your police over there. You might want to sort of send them around here and there into different areas just to help stop the riot. Right, the riot has now been quelled. However, there's a bunch of fires that have just broken out. So you want to head over to your firefighters, and you want to dispatch a few firefighters into that area as well, just to really clamp down and make sure that nothing gets destroyed. That's a good point, actually. I didn't actually check if my fire coverage is okay. Yeah, my fire coverage is fine, so that's not a problem. So that should help to deal with some of these fires here. You can see the helicopters now starting to fly in and trying to deal with this stuff. But you saw how quickly that actually dealt with the riot there. The actual riot didn't last for very long, but it's just the fires that actually caused a lot of the problem there. So, in general, as long as you've got a really good police coverage and things like that, you're going to be okay. In addition to the legalized gambling and things like that, another way to prevent the riots is to bulldoze your casino, because that actually encourages crime too. So you want to be careful with that. Other things that can encourage riots can be jail overcrowding. That can actually be a really big problem. If your jails get overcrowded, it can actually lead to riots, because criminals just break out of jail and they're disgusted at the conditions that they live in and things like that. I'm just trying to find my jail over here. I know I've got one. There it is, over there. So now and again you want to have a quick look at your jail. So at the moment there's only 28 inmates for 300 cells. There's never going to be a riot there, ever. So you're going to be fine with that. So just keep an eye on your jail coverage and things like that. Make sure that you're not pushing the limits of your jails. And if you have the money, build more of them if you need them. But usually, certainly this is a small city, one jail is usually pretty good. And if you have a really good way of life and things like that, one jail may actually last you the whole city and the whole lifetime. You're going to be fine. So just watch your crime levels and things like that. Ensure you've got adequate policing. Enact ordinances that make people happy. Lower taxes. And when riots do happen, be ready to dispatch your police forces and be ready to dispatch your firefighters. So there we have it then. So if you guys have any more tutorials you would like me to cover, please just drop them in the comments below and I will be more than happy to comply. But for now, that's it then. So hopefully that was helpful. I hope you now have a good idea as to what to do when riots break out. But that's it for now then, so thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for more SimCity 3000 tutorials with myself, Matt the Tomato. Thanks for watching, guys.